So and I've gone a bit off topic, but at this point in time, anything we can do to get attention, we're struggling. You know, we are struggling, as all businesses are struggling. But the difference between us and every company in the UK. We're insuring our wrestlers. We set up a trust fund. We're doing a Hall of Fame. We are doing these things that are making the society that we're in, pro wrestling, better. And I do think that at this point in time, any publicity, okay, if it's like one of our wrestlers gets done for, you know, murder or something, then that's not good publicity. But you know, but in this, I think there's a massive jump between that and this, I think.
All right, thanks for that, Alex. We're going to have to move on. We're already quite short on time, so I want to get back into some of the details now of the storyline itself. Now, as I said, it involved a message supposedly written by Doug Williams, delivered by Patrick Lennon, during which claims were made about a conspiracy involving basically a small group of businessmen who had decided, I'm obviously praising here quite a lot, but they decided that pro wrestling is one of the most watched forms of media among young people, so if they can infiltrate the wrestling industry, then they'd be able to, you know, brainwash people effectively into their own agenda, hence the name Agenda. Now, Alex, I'm going to come back to you. I know you've been talking quite a lot. I want to get some other people in as well, but it's quite important, again, because it's your storyline, I suppose. I was going to come into this today saying to you, well, that whole idea on the face of it sounds a little bit far-fetched. So how do you expect people to suspend their disbelief and get involved in the storyline? But I want to change the question a little bit, given what's happened in the past 24 hours with WWE, because as I say, whenever I speak to you, it seems like things go the way that you predict them to. Now, I know I asked you this at the start, but I'm going to ask you again. You're someone with a reputation, I think it's fair to say, for being a fan of the worked shoot, as it's known in the wrestling industry.
I'm just a fan of. I just know what my role is. My job is to work people because I'm a worker, and if I have to do a worked shoot because the way you work people has changed, then that's what I do. But I'm a fan of my position, basically.
All right. Well, however you want to phrase it, let me ask. I just want to ask you directly. Drew McDonald on Hope and Glory came out and said that this agenda that we were talking about in the FWA storyline goes far higher than anyone can imagine. Now, Drew McDonald, as is fairly well documented, is the European talent scout for WWE. So I don't understand how he would possibly be able to say that on an FWA show without permission from someone somewhere. So I'm going to ask you very directly, is there some element in which WWE and FWA or someone somewhere is working together with you, and this is more of a work than it is a shoot?
It's going to take me a bit just to explain the story. Let me give you an overview of the storyline, because I think maybe it's been simplified. The basis of the storyline is that, so I'll tell you what the storyline is, and I'm going to tell you the truth now. And if you think it's work shooting, that's, you know, you'll see stuff unfold. The basis was that Doug Williams, okay, in the storyline, it was Doug, okay, was approached by a group of international businessmen who said they own pretty much most of the world media corporations, okay? But the WWE was a family-run business, and they had already used it to get politicians, including George Bush and Barack Obama, elected, okay? Their job was, what they normally do when a company gets very powerful, is to buy that company out. But this person didn't want to sell his company. So through a dodgy accountant, they got him to float it on the stock exchange, thus losing control. Now he was a publicly owned company, okay? At which point they implemented, there was somebody put it within the company who married into the family, okay? This is the storyline. And what was going to happen was they offered the position to Doug. It was very important that what they told in the storyline, they told Doug, was that events were going to be engineered in the US to put that company under massive political pressure, which is what we're seeing right now. And in the UK, they needed a representative, because the UK, which was the second biggest market, okay, the second biggest market they had, the point was that, and I think we'll go, I know we've run out of time, we'll go longer than 30 minutes. Yeah, it's fine, okay, because this is important. So the UK, which is the second biggest market they had, events were going to be staged to, not even staged, the moral plight of the UK scene was going to be highlighted to put massive pressure on them and lose them their second biggest market while they're losing their big market indoors. At which point, their person within the company would stand up and offer their shareholders a solution to win back both, a solution that would be allowed to work. Thus, their chairman would then lose his position and their person would then run the company. And then they would have full control over the biggest family-owned multimedia company in the world. Now I've spelled it out for you. We're seeing it, okay? Now, that was the storyline, and there was a lot of other stuff in the storyline. Now, let me tell you the truth, okay? And this is the truth of what's happened. There have been multiple people in the wrestling business, both in Europe and the US and in Japan, who have been approached and have been offered this deal, okay? The reason that we did this storyline and the reason that Patrick Lennon put this storyline forward, for obvious reasons, is not because he's an idiot, because we know that this is something that needs to be outed. This is something that needs to happen. We need to basically say to the masses, this is what's going on. Now, we'll beep that word out, but the person in charge of this company, the chairman, clearly knows he's under attack, because you can't even just click play on the website. The video plays instantly, him asking for support. He knows he's under attack, okay? We are, at this point, just by chance, starting a moral war against because they have it coming. Now, all I'm going to tell you is that the WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, which links, if you want to look into who's behind the World Wildlife Fund, there was no need for them to cost WWF or WWE now $85 million. This corporation has enemies in very, very high places, places that people don't even know exist. That's the nature of So some people, this will go way over their heads, and other people will know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is why it's the biggest storyline in British wrestling. The reason that it needed to be played and the reason that I put my neck on the line is because Tony trusted me. Like I said, Tony trusted me with the business principles. And for him doing that, my deal was to work for free for a year to 18 months. It's now over a year. And it's been difficult. It has been difficult, but a moral war and a just war is never life in the fast lane financially, as Gandhi knew, as all these people, John Lennon knew towards the end, because you're doing something just. So we needed to get it out there in the public domain, and we couldn't say who it was because wrestling people talk. These people approached members of our community and assume that we don't talk because we've been blinded by the money. So what happened was we decided to remain faceless. Doug said, I'll take the flak. It wasn't Doug that exposed it. Doug said, I'll take the flak, and he stand up for the industry. Now, I need to tell you one more thing, and I know this is the important bit. What also was said in that video was that people have been put in wrestling companies outside of WWE to make sure those companies do not succeed. Okay. Now, whether or not in the video it was claimed that it came from the businessmen or it came from the big company themselves. Let's look historically. That was the other thing people said, plants put in wrestling companies. Let's look at the big competition company right now. Okay. That company was turning a profit, wasn't it? And what happened? A combination of another Vince from New York and one of his big creations, but basically Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan, I'm going to say it, I don't care, Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan, between Vince Russo's booking and Hulk Hogan's intervention, that company is now not turning a profit anymore. Now, they're the same two people that made a multi-million-dollar profit-making company, the biggest company in the world at that point, WCW, end up being sold for $2.5 million to the very person they were at war with. So you telling me now there's no link between TNA making a profit and then these people getting involved in it nosediving, right? And WCW going from making all that money to being sold to Vince McMahon. I'll go one further. Let's look at ECW. ECW, which, by the way, was infiltrated, okay, by Todd Gordon, who was a shareholder. He was the guy that brought Paul Heyman in, and there was a conspiracy there where WCW implants, were in ECW. That's, people call me a conspiracy theorist. That's fact. I say this to Tony all the time. I say we've already been infiltrated. Like, we have all these free people offering free assistance and stuff. Our champion's been signed to WWE. Some weeks he can work for us, some weeks he can't. Drew McDonald's come and said this stuff on our show. Clearly got permission, so they know what's going on. The guy's not an idiot. He's one of the smartest guys in British wrestling. It's why he's in that position.
If you'd like to purchase any of the DVDs featured in this show, go to www.fwauk.com.
This is the resistance, and we need your help.